Hello, and welcome to another edition of Storytelling on Orchard Street. I'm your host, Pete Salamita. We're in the podcast studios of P&T Knitwear Bookstore at 180 Orchard Street. It's a fine bookstore, lots of great titles to peruse, a cafe in the back. You can have a nice drink, sit down, look at a book. They also have great events here, so you should check them out. But today in the studio, we have Peter Marra. Peter has had over 300 poems published either in print or online in over 25 journals. Born in Brooklyn, he moved to the East Village in the late 70s when punk rock and Times Square were exploding. Peter's work often deals with the forgotten, hidden civilization usually found in urban areas, people we rarely notice, junkies, the unhoused, sex workers, etc. His sixth poetry collection, A Dirty Diary of Ordinary Days, recounting his time spent haunting Times Square in the East Village of New York City, circa 1977 to 1989, has been recently published by INCUNABULA Media. I hope I said that right, INCUNABULA. Other Marra titles include Random Crucifixions, Obsessions, Dolls, and Maniac Cameras, A Naked Kiss from a Broken Doll, Peter Marra, Sins of the Go-Go Girls, and Vanished Faces. You can find out more about Peter at www.angelferox.com. That's ANGELFEROX. Peter, welcome to Storytelling on Orchard Street.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Can you, I don't think people heard you. How do you pronounce the book company?
Incunabula. I'll also put a link in once this gets posted.
Okay. I should have asked you how to pronounce that.
That's okay.
Before
Nobody else can pronounce it.
How'd you wind up working with them?
Well, I have my work is transgressive and surreal.
Right.
So it's kind of hard for me to find the publisher that understands that.
Right.
So I'm friends with a person, R.J. Dent, who's a translator in England.
Okay.
And he recommended them. They're based in England. They're very good.
Right.
I would recommend dealing with them.
Well, I can't wait to find out more about your new book and about the subject matter that you specialize in. It sounds very interesting to me. I have heard you read, and I was definitely transfixed by it.
Okay.
So let's find out how you got to the point where that's who you are as a writer and a poet. So, it says you were born in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I was born in Gravesend, Brooklyn. I was the son of two pharmacists,
Okay.
which caused me much problems later on in my life.
How so?
Just the stuff that was laying around the house.
Oh, okay. All right.
But-
yeah, a little like the candy store, huh?
Yeah, the candy store. I was in the candy store. I tried stuff.
How did it become that you had two parents that were pharmacists?
They
They
met
met
at
in pharmacy school?
Yeah, they met at pharmacy school, of course.
All right. Of course, yeah.
And
Did they work together?
they did for a while, but that didn't work out too well.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not always easy to work with your spouse.
Right.
Were they interested in the arts, media at all, writing?
My mother was. My father was. He had pretty much like a working class mentality, but he didn't try to discourage me. He just didn't want to deal with any of this intellectual crap,
Okay.
that type of stuff.
Right,
My
right.
mother encouraged me to read. She was always like, "Let me read whatever I wanted."
It seems like that's kind of common. That's the mother that tries.
Yeah,
to
I know. I've heard that a lot too.
Yeah, my mother did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She used to. No, she recommended authors to me. I mean, she recommended
But my
Erica
mother
Jong
did it.
to me once.
Oh, cool. My mother did it for me because I had I had trouble reading, and I think
Oh, really?
I think I was undiagnosed ADHD
Dyslexic?
or
Oh,
something.
ADHD?
Or some, yeah.
Yeah, back then they didn't even
No.
really know about that stuff. It
No.
was like-
Every once in a while, I think I should get tested. I don't know what good it would do this late in life, but
I think they train you to handle the problems. I don't know.
yeah.
Something like
Anyway, so she is one that kind of got you into literature and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
no.
one thing I remember when I was 6, she read me Where the Wild Things Are,
I love
and that really blew my mind.
It's a great
right after that decided I wanted to be a writer,
right.
and I even put together a couple of books on
When you were a
loosely
kid?
Yeah, about
Right.
6 or 7.
Wow.
And I remember one of them. I don't remember the stories, but I remember one of them had a drawing of people in an airplane, and the plane was going to crash.
Wow.
And
You still have it?
no, I don't.
okay, yeah.
No, it got lost.
All right,
And
but
I
that's your earliest memory of trying to write.
Yeah, that's my earliest memory
Right.
trying to write.
Right.
Then, after that, I started getting interested in, I think my first one was Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay.
So
That's
I
a
tried
good
to imitate his poetry and
Right.
his stories. I
one. It was like high school or middle school or
No, that was 6th grade.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was reading a few levels ahead of what
Sounds
I
like
should
you
have.
were. Yeah.
Yeah, and
All Are you a genius?
No, I'm not. But
Just a good reader.
yeah, just a good reader, maybe a little bright. I don't know.
You seem like a bright guy.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
You look like one.
That's,
you
that's
got
more
style.
important.
You got
That's more
the
important.
style of an intellectual.
Yeah, that's more important than actually being intellectual. Yeah, and then in like end of middle school, I guess, beginning of high school, I got into the beat writers like Kerouac, Ginsberg, Burroughs especially. I love Burroughs, and later on, I actually met some of them. I met Ginsberg a few times. I met Burroughs a few times.
Right.
And
what do you think of them?
well, Ginsberg and Burroughs are cool. I mean, they were nice guys. They were open to people talking to them. They weren't standoffish or say get away or anything.
Somebody I knew kind of sounded like he had trouble in recollections of Ginsberg, but I don't know.
I guess it also probably depends what day you got them on too. You know?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Some days I run into people I don't really want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I get it. Sure.
Yeah, but yeah, they were good. They're cool guys.
Right. So did you pursue literature in like college, or did you go to school for that, or?
Yeah, sort of. Not officially. I mean, I in high school I went to like a Catholic I went to a Catholic grade school and a Catholic high school.
Okay.
And the Catholic high school was very competitive and blah blah blah. You know, it's like very tough. And I concentrated. They forced you to concentrate more on like math and science.
Did you ever get your knuckles cracked by the ruler?
All the time, yeah, sure. In grade school, not in high school.
Yeah.
The nuns, yeah, the nuns.
I went to Catholic grade school.
Yeah, the
then,
penguins always coming after me.
We had to switch because they raised the tuition.
Oh. Yeah, so I mean, that's, it's typical Catholic upbringing.
Right.
And, I used to go to Mass every Sunday,
Right, yeah, so did I.
and all that crap.
Did your church have a folk mass?
Yes, they did. 10 o'clock Sunday morning.
Did you go to the folk mass?
Yeah, because I liked the girls who were playing the guitars.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, that was the only reason I went.
Yeah.
And the music was better, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Well, for us at our age, it seemed better.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily true going back at it, but. So but after high school, did you pursue that?
Well, I went to Bard College for 2 years.
Okay.
And then I majored in getting high pretty much.
All right.
I was supposed to be studying psychology and literature.
But were you really good at it?
Yeah, I was pretty good at it, yeah. Which brings me to my 23 years of sobriety.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Right.
Yeah, so I had like problems all along until I was like 40 or something.
Right. And I don't know. See, I'm kind of meeting you for the first time. I mean, we've been
met briefly at the IWA meeting.
Right. But that's not anything. So that's what I like about doing this because you get to talk to people who who write and read, and you can admire what they do, but you don't know anything about them.
Right. Sure.
So what did you do as a career?
I'm a computer systems analyst. I ended up being. What happened was after I left Bard College, I got a job as a mailboy at a Fortune 500 company.
Okay.
And they actually paid my tuition to study computer science.
Wow. So what year would this have been? Or what,
that would have been like 1980 actually.
All right.
I started doing it.
Yeah.
Then like by 87, I guess I was done, and I had like a systems analyst degree.
But 1980 was before people had personal computers.
I remember the first personal computer my boss bought one.
Right.
It was like $5,000, and
Yeah,
like
my
nobody
wife
was allowed to touch it. It was like
right. My wife had one in the mid 80s for her graphic design, an Apple.
Yeah.
And it was like it's a little.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the one I was talking about. It was an IBM XT, I think it was called. Had no hard drive. Had to boot up a floppy disk.
All I know is I remember the computers back in the day where they took up like a whole room.
Oh yeah. Anyway, what happened was I got a job as a computer operator.
Right.
So I used to be the guy who loaded tapes in, handed out reports.
Right. Well, that was great that you got.
Yeah, it's
that
great too
little
because if you're
bump
getting high, it's a very easy job.
Right. Which I guess you were doing a lot.
And nobody really cared because as long as I kept the computer running, I could have walked in there naked and nobody was.
Right. But then eventually you upgraded your studies in that.
Right.
Yeah.
I upgraded my studies and I got a job as an analyst. And then I was always like a high functioning person for addiction.
Right.
I was always able to hold a job. I never lost a job because of it.
Right.
Which is good and bad. I mean, sometimes it's better you just crash and burn right away.
Right. Get it over. Yeah. Although you can crash and burn and that doesn't mean you're gonna.
That's true.
Snap back from
I've
it
seen many
too.
people relapse. Yeah.
So does that play into the subject matter?
Well, the subject matter of this is really my life in the East Village around that time.
Right.
And also, I used to go out to Times Square a lot, hang out. I became friends with some of the actors.
Right.
Some of the adult film actresses.
So when you say Times Square, and unless people listening are roughly our age, maybe a little bit younger, they have no idea.
No, they have no idea.
Unless they watched like a movie from the 70s.
If you watch if you watch that HBO show, The Deuce.
Okay. I know
That's you should watch it. It's good. It tries to recreate that time period.
Right. And what that's so different, especially
totally
especially further west.
Yeah, right.
Right, you had all the
I mean, they had the peep shows, the Triple X theaters.
Right.
Drugs were rampant.
Yeah, it was.
You had to be careful walking around.
Right.
Kind of who you talk to.
Yeah, kind of like a Lou Reed song.
Yeah, right. Basically, yeah. Definitely like the Lou Reed song.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I guess Giuliani brought in the big businesses in the late '80s, I guess, the '80s, and they all cleaned that area up. Which, I can see why they did it, but I sort of miss it, and I think it lost a lot of character.
I feel like New York City. Maybe I'm saying this as an older person, and maybe younger people don't think this,
right?
But it feels way more sterile.
Yeah, even the street, Orchard Street, we're on. I remember back in the days, there was like none of this stuff was over here.
Yeah, you have restaurants that are like $40 entrees. It's
and like Russ and Daughter was on. I used to see out my window on First Avenue. They have an expensive cafe over here.
Do they?
Yeah,
but they still have the original location.
They still have the original one. Yeah. But a lot of those places closed. Like Russ and Daughter is still there in Katz's.
Right.
All the other places closed.
No, I know.
They were all run out. Like, it's sad.
Right.
And the same with Times Square. I mean, it was dangerous, but it had character.
Right.
And it was a neighborhood. People actually lived there and like had stores there.
Well, you could afford to live in New York City. Even back then, it was not easy to live in New York City. No. So you lived in the East Village. I guess there was some areas.
I was paying $300 a month for an apartment. It was like, that was a lot for me.
Right. And it was probably really small.
No, it was good size.
No?
Yeah,
okay.
It was okay.
Because I remember somebody I knew lived on St. Mark's. And it was
St. Mark's was like the Sutton places.
It was, but it was the smallest apartment I've ever seen in my life. The bathroom was in the kitchen.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I had that too on First Avenue.
And she had the bed that the Murphy bed that pulled out from the wall.
Oh no, I had a regular bed, but I remember the bathtub in the kitchen. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so New York City was definitely a different time. So you're trying to capture that. It sounds like.
I don't know if I'm trying to capture it. I'm trying to maybe flush the images out of my brain.
Is that it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
No, also capture it because I do get like a perverse nostalgia for it.
All right. You know what? I think this is a good point to read something from your stories, so people can get a glimpse of what we're talking about.
Dirty Diary of Ordinary Days.
And how can people purchase that?
You could go to lulu.com. It's up there.
Okay.
Just Google the name or my name.
Right.
Or you could go to the website of the publisher, INCUNABULA Press.
Right.
But I'll put that. I guess we could put that.
You should see if they'll take the book here.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Does the publisher help with trying to get it into?
He tries. I mean, it's a small publisher. He tries. Right. Yeah, he does try.
Yeah,
he tries to promote.
Right.
I was going to read like part of the introduction to start with, which sort of gives you an idea of how I ended up this way.
Perfect.
In December 1972, I purchased my first copy of Playboy, nervously riding my bike to a faraway newsstand one neighborhood away where I was incognito and unknown. I held the dollar bill in my sweaty hands and brought the mag to the cashier, an old man drinking coffee who didn't give a shit. Once outside the store, I hid the magazine under my shirt and rode home. I actually read the articles too. My worldview started to change. A cultural shift for a boy who attended a Catholic boys' high school and had just finished 8 years of Catholic parochial school. Something was ready to go. The mirrors were cracking. One night on a local channel, the usual horror TV show broadcast Godard's Alphaville, and I was mesmerized by Anna Karina. Shortly afterwards on the same channel, I saw Bergman's The Seventh Seal. I was enchanted by the Bergman actresses. The station must have gotten these films as part of a distributor's fantasy package, not the usual fare they showed. As a result, I sought out art films which promised intellectual as well as sexual stimulation. I was 13, but I would regularly travel to Manhattan to the Bleecker Street Cinema, Carnegie Hall Cinema, Thalia, and the numerous other art houses that existed back then. My introduction to the adult entertainment world happened in the junior year of high school. I had traveled to the city, as the Hicks of Gravesend referred to Manhattan, to catch Lena Wertmüller's new film, Seven Beauties, in a Midtown movie theater. The film was rated R. Even though I was 16, I didn't think admission would be a problem for an art house film. I was refused entry by the pedantic, crotchety bitch at the ticket counter due to my age. In a rage, I stormed off and walked around Midtown, eventually making my way to 42nd Street, Times Square. I passed an adult cinema, the World 49th, and decided to try and see the pornographic film that was being shown. To my astonishment, I was sold a ticket and nervously took a seat on the aisle in case I had to leave in a hurry. The film was A Portrait of Seduction, starring Vicky Lyon. The film was a fever dream of sex acts on the big screen. It scared me a little. I had never experienced movies such as this. Vicky Lyon enthralled me. Vicky was now my twisted, deviant muse. The rivulets of my brain throbbed. The synapses exploded and short-circuited. After this experience, I would try to sneak out from Brooklyn and hit Times Square every chance I could. I continued to see the films of Godard, Fellini, Bergman, and Antonioni, but I will always reserve some time to scope out Times Square in the evenings.
Wow, that's quite an introduction.
Yeah, that's funny.
You actually remembered the movie you saw?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Incredible.
Well, I had never seen anything like that. So
Right.
It's like,
I bet. Well, it's funny because, now pornography is like, you can get it on your phone.
yeah,
Just
you
to a
know what?
degree,
It's
but
really boring now.
Right. It's not the same.
Not the same.
Right.
These movies had stories. They
Right.
tried to have a budget.
Right,
they tried to I guess they did that
But
so in case they got busted, they could say, well, we have redeeming social values. There's a
Right.
story here.
Right. It's just a different world.
Right.
I can remember the first friend of mine that got married. We rented a projector and porn movies.
Stag movies.
Yeah. Wow. So,
Yeah, those movies are worth a lot of money now. I see them on eBay.
okay. So that must have been quite like from Gravesend to that. It must have been really,
it was
really
a-
eye-opening.
It was a cultural
especially
shift,
coming from a
Catholic.
conservative family.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Did your family ever find out that that's how you were spending your time?
If they did, they never told me.
Oh, okay. Well, don't you think they would have said
Yeah,
something?
I think they would have said something. Yeah, probably.
You said you were 16?
Yeah,
16.
Also,
yeah.
it was an Italian family. We didn't keep things to ourselves.
What do you mean?
They would have been out there more very emotional saying, what are you doing?
Oh, right. No.
You're going to get killed.
Right. Yeah. I come from an Italian heritage
Right.
also. Yeah. Something like that wouldn't have been
Too cool.
too cool for especially my father.
Yeah. My
he
father they were religious, but I don't know if they were to the point where that would like really, I think they would get more upset that I was like putting myself in danger.
My father didn't even want my mother to wear pants.
Oh, really?
That's how conservative he was.
That's conservative.
Yeah, he was really
That's
conservative.
conservative, yeah.
Yeah. He came from. You couldn't swear. If a movie had a character that swore, he wouldn't watch it.
Oh, no,
that's
he
how. Yeah. So
And my father swore too.
yeah. I don't know. Well, I guess my father just came from a different background. A very.
I guess he was more religious. That's
Yeah.
the way he was raised.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably was beat into him to be like.
Oh, probably. Probably went to Catholic school.
Yeah. So from there, then what? Now you have this eye-opening experience, and you're going out, you're doing this, and then.
Well, like I said, I used to go there, hang out. I became friends with some of the actresses there.
Right.
Not like girlfriends, but they were just friends. They knew me, and I knew them. I used to go to Show World, which was cool because most of the men that went to Show World were old men.
Right.
And the girls that were there were like, oh, this young guy's
Right.
here. Well,
You
it's
were
fun.
yeah.
I was like the
you're
star
like
there.
a needle in the haystack.
Yeah, right. So they were, we didn't do anything, but it was
Right.
just like I used to talk to them, find out things.
Right. Were you writing about what this part?
Yeah,
of
off and
it
on
is?
back then. Yeah, I
Right.
was. I mean, I recently found some stuff that I wrote in the 80s that I'm
Right.
going through now.
Were you a journal keeper?
No, not really.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Now
I've
I
had
am.
guests on my show that have done memoirs that kept journals.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I wish I had.
Yeah.
tell you the
From
truth.
the time they were like, like 6, 7, or 8. Or
Yeah, I wish I had done that, but I
Yeah.
didn't. Like
Yeah.
that first book I was telling you about, I wish
Right.
I had it. Really done.
Right. But you must have a good memory because you had a lot of detail in there.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, like certain
Can't
something like
remember
that I have
anything.
remember. And, other things, something happened 2 days ago, I
Right.
don't remember.
So besides that, like, were you also at this stage or a little later, especially when you moved into East Village, other cultural things like, the music and the...
Yeah,
'cause
I
when
moved
we
to
were
the-
outside, we Gang of Four was on, for
Right,
instance.
right.
Like, were you getting into...
Yeah, and when I was at Bard College, I started getting into punk rock,
Right,
like really big, heavy. And back then you had Patti Smith, the Ramones,
right.
Blondie, all those people.
In 1975, I was in Newport's. I went to SUNY Newport's for a year. And I was on the stage crew, and Patti Smith was one of the acts. So I was
cool.
I'm on the stage watching.
yeah,
watching.
cool, yeah. I saw her
1975.
at CBGB's a few times, like
Right.
the late 70s.
Uh-huh.
All those guys I saw, television,
Right. Yeah.
all of them. And yeah, I got into it. And my girlfriend that I met at college, we moved in together in East Village.
Right.
And
so there was so much happening.
yeah, it was like a big cultural thing.
Right.
There was also an art scene happening there too.
Right. There was a lot. Yeah. Art,
Keith Haring,
music,
Basquiat.
Sure.
Now it's like nothing, but you
Right.
know, it was very fertile, for the art scene.
Right. And were you writing and reading poetry at that point, or did that come?
I was writing poetry. I wasn't really reading poetry.
Right.
Because I was starting to get too much into drugs and drinking and stuff.
Right.
So I didn't really, and back then you didn't have an internet to send stuff out.
Right.
So you would have to actually get an envelope.
Sure.
And
mail it. Yeah.
Type up 2 copies and, mail it out and follow up. And
Well, I remember, I was in bands and we did flyers and we actually
Right.
mailed the flyers to people.
Right. Oh, yeah, they like cut up things and
And we
it.
put them up on lampposts and whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I helped some bands out doing that. Yeah,
Right.
It's like 2 a.m. I'd be working.
I had a friend that worked for Mobile Oil and he could in the mailroom he could send them out for free. So, but yeah, it was a pretty vibrant scene. That must have been something else for you at that point.
Yeah. I was like either wanted to be a musician because I had an electric guitar, but that never really went anywhere.
Okay.
And I wanted to be a writer, and I was doing that, but
Right.
I wasn't sending stuff out, so I wasn't getting too far.
Right.
I went to some readings. I did
Right.
some readings. But
So
nothing.
when did that happen? First, like when did it become a bigger part of your life?
Actually, the writing I kept doing all along, and then when I got sober, I took stock of myself, I guess you say.
Right.
And like
What year was that?
I got sober in 2002.
And was there something that like how did that come about?
How did I get sober? Well, I just got tired of drinking and taking drugs, and it was affecting my marriage. And my first marriage broke up. I had a son. We weren't getting along either. It was like a real socialized mess. It was not good.
Yeah.
So I decided, my wife and I broke up, and then I decided I'm going to get sober.
Okay. Oh, that's a big life change.
Yeah, it was a
that
big
would
life-changing event.
Right. Was it difficult in the beginning? Or?
No, because what happened was as soon as I got sober, my father died. I lost my job.
Wow.
And
that
I was really at an end where I said, look, I got to get sober. I can't go screw around.
Right.
I'm not going to go out. I'm going to get sober.
Right. Okay.
And that was it.
Right.
I got scared. I was terrified that something else would happen.
Right.
So,
that's a lot to go through in one fell swoop.
Yeah, it was 1 year.
Wow.
I lost the job, then 3 months later, my father died.
Right. And you got divorced.
And was getting divorced.
Right.
It was traumatic.
It's funny because it could have been the other way around. You could have dove deeper into your addiction.
I know. I'm lucky, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
I guess I consider myself lucky because it could have gotten a lot worse.
Yeah.
But the first year I had I was really making sure I went to a couple of meetings a day.
Did you have to detach yourself from the way you were living? Like, going out and, going out in the art scene or poetry readings or all that?
No, not really. No, I didn't have to. No, actually, even nowadays, back then in 2000, 2002, there's not that much drinking going on at readings.
Right.
I mean, it might be there, but it's not like.
No, I don't see people
You don't
getting
see it there.
right. But then again, I'm new to this, so I don't know what it was like back then, and especially
I remember in the
East
80s,
Village.
people used to get drunk and get high at these readings. But
Yeah.
nowadays, no, I don't see it.
But at our age, you shouldn't be doing that too much.
No, well, yeah, that's another thing. If I do it now, it'll probably kill me.
Yeah. I see people having a drink or two, but not much more than that.
Right,
As
right.
far as I can tell.
Right. I don't know if people getting excessively drunk either.
Right. No. You want to? You have other books. You want to? It's up to you. You're going to read from the other books too, or are you going?
No, I was just in case it came up what they looked like. But
yeah. Okay.
Here's my first sort of Times Square book, Peter Marra.
Okay. That way, yeah.
But yeah, I'll read from A Dirty Diary.
What year did that come out?
Dirty Diary or Peter Marra?
Oh, Dirty Diary is the new one.
Yeah.
Right.
Peter Marra came out about 10 years ago, I think.
Okay. When did you when did you publish your first book?
My first book was actually Peter Marra in another form that doesn't exist anymore. Then I did Approximate Lovers.
Okay.
Which is sort of like about relationships in a way. It's more surreal. Maybe I'll read something from that a little bit later.
Okay.
And then A Naked Kiss from a Broken Doll is actually a giallo novel. It's Italian horror movies.
Oh.
So it's, it's Giallo was a form of literature in the 30s. They always had a yellow cover so you could identify it.
Right.
And Giallo means yellow in Italian.
I get it.
And then the whole horror movie started like in the early 60s and then really picked up in the late 60s to the 70s.
I see.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like Dario Argento's a big Giallo director.
Okay. It's kind of a creepy cover.
Yeah, that actually I took. That's a toy store in Rome that I saw.
Cool.
The guy repaired toys, and he had all these broken dolls.
So it's a novel.
Yeah, it's a novel. Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you wrote prose as well.
Yeah, this is my only novel so
see.
far. I might do another one, but I don't know. Well, I'll read something from the Dirty Diary.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, this is about one of the actresses I met. Her name was Velvet. She passed away, I think, in 2015.
Oh, you kept in touch?
No, I just happened to find out. I found out through YouTube, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the there was a band there that a band on YouTube. They wrote a song to her, and I even say it at the end of the book here, where you can find the link for that song.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
You knew the band, or you just stumbled upon it?
No, I just stumbled upon it. I googled her name actually.
Oh, okay.
And I saw that this on YouTube. There was like this tribute to her, and I was like,
wow,
very strange because she wasn't even like one of the big stars.
Right. Were they big stars? I mean, I guess.
I guess there's some you've always heard of, like Vanessa Del Rio.
Okay. Right.
Annie Sprinkle, probably.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, she also became a performance artist.
Right. That's how I know her.
I still keep in touch with her.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Okay, this one's called A Velvet Morning Overdrive, the final prayer of a pornographic actress. When she's straight, when she's gone, escaped New England by using her body. Just an object, only a thing. Hairline fractures of pale colors. She lay awake, afraid to move, shocked by her own murder lust. A long silver needle had been inserted in her mind, slowly, excruciating. Her ass swayed under her dress, to and fro, craving the law of attraction. She had been the prey for too long. The ecstatic corporate scientists were injecting multiple objects deep inside her, swirling suggestions and accusations of the commodity fetishism she was required to endure. Use me, please. Words not in the script, but she knew she had to. The radio was too low to hear, just subliminal twisting, but she understood the ploy. Human needs obliterated. She needed some prayers to fix it. Put me back together, remember the lost souls. Mindless chanting mantras of nonentities. When this is over, touch me in the cage of heaven, out there dancing with the air. A scrambled list, the third movement of the second female, hounded by the femme fatale, coming soon. The walls were streaked with gray as the crescent between her legs was squirming out of control. A burning white-hot puncture in the celluloid. The cell structure was changing. My pussy belongs to me. Behind the ancient city walls, ears bled as her fingers trembled. Her mind twisted in the back alleys near the terminal bar, kissing the demonic children wasted on 8th Avenue, admiring her fellow performers at Tin Pan Alley. There was music at first, driven sideways, predominated by the bass line. It grew fainter under the floorboards it hid, disguised as a soft throb. Her lovers had gullible conclusions, irrevocable collisions of collusions with her abusive lovers. She promised nothing. Stripping down the enemies, sleeping under a glass ceiling while admiring her reflection, lit brightly by moths aflame. Her skin responded under a gentle caress, 1,000 deaths of transient insects, hairline fractures dosed with concrete hallucinations. She was a cannibalization of summer lovers. Her name was Velvet, just anonymous, cherishing her rave taglines. Definitely Triple X. The bondage and discipline scenes in this film are real. The piercing scenes in Rebecca will have all real sadists screaming in delight. Adult Cinema Review. Not since the story of O has the world of B&D been so vividly displayed. Leather and Lace magazine. I do things. I film activities. Many cowards wouldn't try, she said. Slicing up my childhood dreams. Now I'm here, captured on celluloid in a dank studio in Astoria, making another classic, holding myself so I don't shake. Surrounded by broken things, piss and cum smell. She spoke of the clandestine meetings. I tried to follow and copy the action that was being revealed on the screen. An atomic bomb mimic, loving a moment, burning away. She had been the prey for too long. I tried so hard, too fucking hard. My legs were shaking. Not tired. No, I'm not tired. holding myself so I don't shake, waiting for a kiss meant for someone else, holding myself so I don't shake. I'll never be Annie Sprinkle or Vanessa Del Rio or Candida Royale. She prayed too long.
Oh, man, that's something else.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's very vivid.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's like a little, I could almost see that as a film.
Snapshots? I could think of them as snapshots that capture a specific place in time and that's trapped there.
Right. Wow. How long did it take you to put that book together?
This took me longer than it usually does because it was written started during the pandemic.
Okay.
And I had a lot of stuff going on. My wife was ill and all this stuff, and like had a lot of stuff to deal with.
Right.
So yeah, it took me longer than usually. It took a couple of years, I guess.
Right.
2, maybe 3 years.
So, how long you been married?
Well, I've been married. This is my second marriage, obviously.
Right.
Been married 23 years.
Nice.
When I got sober.
Right. Good for you. What does your wife do?
She's retired at the moment. She used to be an ad exec.
Okay. She into poetry and writing?
Yeah, she likes poetry and writing. She doesn't really like going to open mics and stuff because, a lot of open mics, they sort of drag sometimes.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
My wife goes to certain ones. Well, I do a variety show every couple of months, and it's in my neighborhood, and she always comes to that. It's only blocks away from where I live, and sometimes the events I go to are, work day, work during the week, and she has to work and all.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if it's a place, if it's like I live in Jackson Heights and they have a couple of readings around there, she might accompany me if I go to one around there. It depends. I mean, she's fine. Sometimes she finds the open mics a little boring.
Right.
You have to really be into poetry, I guess, to really go to the whole open mic.
Of course. Yeah.
But yeah, she supports me.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Right. Of course. So we can go more into what you've written already. I'm just wondering if you have something else planned, or you're just trying to kind of deal with the book that you just wrote, or you have any idea of something else you might go into?
Well, I mean, I could read something from one of the other books. Maybe.
No. I mean, you just finished this.
I'm working on now. You mean?
Yeah. If you have any plans for anything else.
Actually, what I'm working on now is called Autopsy of a Body Double, and it's going to be dealing with my childhood. Oh. Like how I got to where I am today. Actually, pretty much.
Well, that sounds
going to cover the addiction and the school.
Is it like a memoir?
Sort of. It's not presented in the first person. It's going to be like second person, I guess. Third person, I guess.
So your poems are almost like little stories. The one you just read, it felt
this
like
book. This book, a lot of them are like little stories.
Oh, it's like almost like flash fiction. In a sense.
Yeah. A lot of them are in this book. I mean, other ones I have, they're more like regular poems.
Right.
That form seemed to suit this better. Just seemed to work.
Well, it's storytelling.
Yeah.
And it's storytelling about a very specific time in your life, and also New York history.
Right. Actually, did you ever saw that? Did you ever see that book, Stories of Times Square by Josh Allen Friedman?
I don't think I have.
Oh, you should pick it up. It's really good.
Right.
Yeah, he writes about the same time period.
Okay. Right.
Yes, I mean, I could also read something about the East Village here if you want to.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great.
It's about a date I went on.
Oh, cool.
In 1980.
I'm amazed when I'm with people that remember so much stuff.
Oh, there's a reason I remember this one.
I almost feel like I should get hypnotized, so maybe it'll pull some of the stories out of my head.
I know, right?
Because a lot of my things I think about from the past, I think of in very it's not as detailed as what you're doing here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends. Like some of these things, these incidents I remembered because there's a reason I remember them.
Okay.
But other things, like something that happened last week, I might not remember.
I got it.
All right, this is a date I went on.
Do you, is it sort of like you take memories and you make it into a story or poem?
I guess so, yeah. I guess that's sort of what it is. I seem to, like how the memories come up, I really don't understand. They just... Sometimes things just trigger them. Right. I remember.
And then you flush it out.
Right, and I flush it out.
Right.
It probably had to do also with getting sober. I think over the years, my brain's coming back. And it's like things are popping up, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. So what's this one called?
It's called Flexible Demons. She was clever, rude, loved to joke, and possessed an evil streak. Stopping herself to admire her fingers, we continued walking past CBGB's down the Bowery. Hot July, the air smelled of humidity and unwashed humans. We stopped at her building. "Tomorrow, where are you?" I asked. We went inside. A basket descended through a hole in the ceiling and stopped in front of us. She put the money in the basket and tugged on the rope. Up went the basket. A few minutes later, down the basket came with a payload of 2 glassine packets, 2 shots of body bag heroin, the best on the Lower East Side. As an extra bonus, the basket contained the blue-tip syringe. "I guess we can share," she said. "How cute." "Lua lock tip, the best." She was referring to the syringe. We could hear whispering all around us, circling but not seen. The walls and floor were uneven. A steel chair was placed in the center of the room. V walked over to it and sat down. Her flexible, translucent form was reflected in the over-polished wood floor. We could hear music from the first Blondie album floating underneath our feet, mixed with various muffled noises indicative of sex or violence. Some scummy punks lived below. Taking the hypo in her hand, she felt for a vein in her left arm, just on the underside of the elbow. V switched the syringe to her mouth and tied off with a leather lace. Quickly, she inserted the needle into the bulging vein and pushed the plunger in, withdrawing after a second. The coveted red blossom gently kissed the clear liquid in the syringe. "So pretty," she said. Then, "So pretty," in a much lower voice. She kept repeating the phrase until she pulled the needle out and removed the leather lace. V's complexion was albino and her eyes rolled up. Only the whites showed, albumin. A thin trickle of red crawled down her left forearm. A quick stream of vomit exited her mouth and splashed onto the floor, a glowing green puddle. "Tell me some stories." As the high wore off, about 8 hours, she eventually was able to get up and walk around. She played some old 45s on a child's record player, a close-in play that she had lifted from Goodwill. I remember Spanish Stroll by Mink DeVille. Her body was fluid and moved gracefully. She started to talk about her past lovers. "My last boyfriend went missing about 2 weeks ago. Went out one night, never came back. I guess the undertow got him, finally. Sometimes I love you, crawl into my madness."
Wow. Well, I guess I can understand
why I remember
that one. That's pretty intense. How long were you with her?
A couple of months.
Okay.
And it wasn't really serious.
Right.
I think she really wanted me so I could buy her drugs or something.
Right.
Right.
I'm sure there was a lot of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was what happened down there. Like, the heroin hit, like, in the 80s, and it was got to be bad sometimes for some people.
Uh-huh.
I remember friends getting robbed and ripped off.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, there was a lot of crime back then.
Also, people coming to my apartment to shoot up.
Right.
They had to have a place to go.
Right.
You know, so it was like, they were actually friends of my girlfriend. They were like from Long Island.
Right.
They had like middle-class families.
Does it almost feel like it was a different person? In some ways now, so many years removed, and you've held jobs, married.
Yeah, it does feel like a different person. Maybe that's why I could write about it.
You have one kid?
Yeah.
One kid. Yeah.
Maybe that's why I could write about it, because it's so
you,
totally
but it's sort of like
another
you.
variation of me from a long time ago.
Right. Right.
No, I guess getting sober had something to do with that too. So.
And you never like had any serious health problems back then or anything?
No, I was lucky. No,
right,
I didn't get it. No, I didn't have any problem.
Is it because it wasn't a long stretch of time? Or
I mean,
how many years were you using?
I started with the drugs in high school. Like I said, my parents were pharmacists. They had stuff lying around.
Right,
so.
but heroin's a whole nother.
Yeah. Well, heroin I wasn't that much into. I used to like chip it, every so often I do it.
Okay.
I mean, because I could see what it was doing to like my friends and
right.
other people. So I really didn't want to. And look, going to buy heroin is not a nice experience.
Right, right.
So you really have to be something wrong with you to go down there.
Right, right. Unless you're a rock star.
Yeah, right. Then you have somebody else go off.
Right, exactly. Right, that's true.
Yeah,
I didn't think of it that way.
So I would go sometimes. Some friends of mine would go maybe get a bag and split it or something like that.
Right.
But like my girlfriend here, she was developing a habit, obviously.
Right.
So yeah, that was scaring me. So I tried to stay away from that type of stuff.
Right. Well, thank God, right?
Yeah, right. I know.
Because maybe you wouldn't,
Plus, there was also AIDS happening down there too.
Oh yeah, sure, right, and that was a big way of it being passed.
Right.
But by then, because maybe in the early days it was more gay men, but it did become very heavily from drug use.
I think that they focused on the gay men. I think it was always like across the board. They just didn't really know. At the beginning, like with Reagan as president, they didn't like try to solve it.
He couldn't care.
Yeah, he didn't give a shit.
So they joked about it.
Right. So I don't think they even did any sort of a study to see what part of the population was being affected. Because I think it was affecting everybody.
Well, yeah, right. But what I meant was through sex was, in the beginning was what they thought was the main carrier.
Right. But I also think because it was they were focusing on the gay men as something against them to show them that show the world that they were evil or something.
Well, that's true.
Look what's happening to these guys. They're having
in the '90s. I worked for Lifebeat music industry fights AIDS, and I would my job was to get musicians to perform for people living with AIDS, in hospitals.
That's good.
And there was right over here, Rivington House. Rivington Street.
Yeah, Rivington. Yeah, because I lived.
Do you remember that was like
too.
a 200-bed facility?
Yeah, I lived briefly on Suffolk Street.
Yeah,
I remember.
And I think quite a few of the people that were there was from drug use.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, not everybody, but it was pretty heavy by that point.
Right.
And that was a big component of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Also, like men and women were getting it. Straight men and women were getting it from regular sex.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like Cookie Mueller, that John Waters film star. She died of AIDS. I think she got it from regular sex.
Right. So, yeah, definitely. I mean,
as long as you're passing fluids, it's going to happen.
Right. And bisexuality comes into it too.
Sure, of course.
So,
Yeah, that's true too. Yes.
Yep. So we're doing pretty good here. I'm enjoying talking to you. What else?
Yeah, me too.
What else you got? Usually I ask people if there's anything else that inform. This is a pretty specific
topic,
subject matter, and your life experience.
Right.
But were there any other things that over the years that might have influenced your writing? I mean, that's a lot right there. But I'm just wondering.
Basically, I was always. I'm influenced by any surrealism, any sort of surrealist writers, so I always try to keep up with what's happening.
Right.
I also go to movies and I get ideas from that too. But I try to keep always with the same type of interest that I've always had my whole life.
Right.
I like art films. I like to see that type of stuff. I think that movies are suffering lately.
Yeah.
I think there's a lack of imagination happening. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
Like a lot of movies, there's just too many like superhero movies coming out. I think the independent movies.
Yeah, you really have to look hard
Yeah.
for to get away from that.
Yeah, and also New York City used to have tons of art houses.
Well, it's easier to make movies in some ways,
Right, well, you got digital, right.
Right, but also we lost, for the most part, the cinematography.
Yes.
And, you see movies from the 50s and 60s, the way it looked.
Right.
And probably further into that, but now it's, with CGI.
Well, yeah, I hate CGI.
And all that,
Right.
And also the pandemic put a hit into the movie industry.
Right, that hurt a lot. Yes.
You got to wonder, what happened last year with the fires too.
I know, yeah. You're going to see the effect of that too.
Yeah, right, and the strike and all that. So there's probably a lot of things, but also people's, we have so much available through technology, but it's just too much sometimes. It's not curated the same way. And I don't think the same amount of energy, like less energy put into individual things.
I think it's the energy and the ideas are like suffering. I don't know.
Right.
Because, I could go out and get a digital camera for like, I don't know, a few $100s probably, maybe $1,000, which is definitely doable.
Right.
And I can make a movie.
Right.
And like, why aren't people doing that? But if they do, they if you don't have the great idea or the great writing, there's no point really.
Right.
And so it's much easier than it used to be. You don't have to worry about the film. You don't have to worry about film
I got to wonder, with the current political climate, if it's either going to be worse, beaten down, or there's going to be a new artistic energy to fight back from that. I hope it's a new artistic
energy. I'm hoping for that because so far it looks like they're being beaten down.
Right.
Unless I'm hoping something is growing in the background that's really going to come
you
to
tapped
a head.
into a young because a lot of the reasons I go to typically it tends to be a generation that have been together for a long time.
Right.
Some of the reasons, not all of them. Do you ever go to readings where it's a younger?
I've gone to. I
Readings
went
from
to a
crowd or-
reading on at the music school on White Street, across the street from the old Mud Club, actually,
Oh, okay.
and it's hosted by Alexandra Dean. I can't remember the actual name of the reading. but
Okay.
and they were young people. They were all young. I was like the oldest guy there.
Right,
And
right.
They liked my
I've
stuff.
been to a few like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really liked my stuff.
Well, I don't
read
see why
some-
they wouldn't. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty hip.
Yeah, they were really
Yeah.
into it. They
Right.
really liked it.
Sure. Right. And you're writing about an experience that they
Well, so
haven't
someone
had.
told me, said, I didn't know that's what New York was like.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they said
New
it
York
was
is so
great.
different.
Yeah. They said, I didn't even know, like, I wanted to say you can Google on the internet. But,
Right. Right.
but yeah, they said they didn't know
Yeah,
about
I
it.
moved to Brooklyn in 1980. So, it was a little, after some of your stories here. But
Right.
New York City was so different.
Oh, yeah.
Not just what you're talking about, the East Village and Times Square.
Oh, no, all of New York City. Brooklyn
Yeah.
was different. Brooklyn's an expensive
Well, there
area now.
I know. There was nothing to do in Brooklyn in 1980.
Right, right.
Literally nothing. Restaurants, bars. The bars were.
Williamsburg was like a high crime area. That was
Yeah,
it, really.
no one went to. No, you never heard the word Williamsburg in
No,
1980.
they used to get the overflow from the East Village.
Although I do
sometimes.
remember going to Williamsburg for Domsey's. It was a big warehouse thrift store.
Oh, yeah. I know.
remember that?
Yeah, I forgot the name of it. But yeah, I know the place.
Right. Where there was in the ground
A
floor.
guy named Sid used to run it.
Yeah, and the ground floor you could get clothes by the pound.
Yes.
And then
right.
upstairs there was a better
He had
quality
furniture
stuff.
too, if you want. I remember I tried to get like a chair from him, and he was like,
I have a suit I bought there for like $25 or $30.
Yeah.
It was Sears and Roebuck suit, but I love it. I still wear it. It's like my favorite
yeah,
piece of
nothing wrong with
clothing.
it.
They had some really cool stuff.
right.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it was
I
so
always wanted
different.
to find some Robert Hall suits. I
Right.
was just
Yeah.
like that stuff.
So I moved to go to continue my study in college, and so I was college age, and you really had to go. You had to go to Manhattan for culture, for restaurants, bars, everything, movies.
And also, a lot of people in Brooklyn were afraid to go in. Like I said in my introduction, they used to
Right.
say, "Are you going to the city?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. People didn't. There were people that lived in Brooklyn, like your family, and my friends'
And I had
family. The
friends
same
who
thing.
never
They
ventured
never
into
went to Manhattan. The city, they called it.
the city, and like
right.
never.
So, you're going to the city. But when I told my sister I was moving to Brooklyn, she cried because she thought it was like a war zone or something. Although kind of almost in some ways it was because the 70s, New York City went bankrupt.
Yeah, well, 70s,
Right.
New York City was all.
Right.
I mean, I used to, I used to go hang out in Times Square and take the subways. I used to carry a knife on me.
Yeah. Probably a smart move.
Yeah, I mean, luckily
it
nothing
was-
ever happened. But
Right.
I had close calls, like some guys chasing me
Right.
sometimes. And
You ever write about any of that?
no, I think I'll put that into the new book.
Okay. Anyway, why don't you read something else? Because we're getting,
Getting near that
towards the
time.
end of the show. Yeah, we have time for more. And I usually read one. So after you read one, I'll read
I'll
a
read
short
this one.
one too.
This is about, you might remember the place, Disco Donut.
Disco Donut.
14th Street and 3rd Avenue,
Oh, yeah.
next to Carmelia's reception house.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Disco Donut, 14th Street and 3rd Avenue. Disco Donut, with a junkie full of his methadone dose, tries to stay upright, attempting to eat his cheeseburger deluxe. One bite, nod off, wake up when his head almost hits the table. Try again. Heroin user Sisyphus won't make it. Repeat one more time, over and over. Accolades for the burger of the year. Dance on the grainy screen, white gloves, petulant and annoyed, flit inside their cages. Emulsion melts as she looks away. Her face looked down on her and me as I crawl slowly when she tries to run. Wavy pictures melt in the swelter. The booth closes. The theater closes. The concession stand that drip blood, no sale. Wavy heat, the kind that rises from broken concrete in July, carrying the stink of sweat and garbage. Sweat, smooth, moist. It's time and she's running away. Time for me to go and walk away. Heat. Time for pain or bad memories. The film unspools and the reel hits the floor. Broken projectors and shadows. Dance on the grainy screen. Emulsion melting as she looks up. Her face looks down on her and me. I crawl slowly, and she kills. Wavy pictures captured crimes and offered them for sale. We had been submerged. The clock that dripped blood. The clock that dripped blood spun its hands. White fluid spraying her face and boring into her brain, removing the flesh she didn't need anymore. Laughing, she realized how much was wasted and laughed at the loss. lay down to take a nap. Please pray for me. Please pray for me. I'll pray for you, the cancer-ridden padre promised. The odor of holy water and memories of a perverted past were wrapped around him, a shroud of twisted pleasures. Memories of tears and crying woke her up. The laughing time was over at the edge of the night. The crucifix bent over to giggle at her. Explosion. The heretic carried shrunken heads for investigation. These are the artifacts, the flowers that are dated by smiles, the claws exposed in the movie show, then a twisted smirk, then cries of pleasure, then cries of fear as the sun dies down. She whimpers with the penitence. Heavy black eyeliner and a mascara blended with blood monochrome hues meshed in the rain. Accusations on her white blouse. Borrowed sexual contact from the clubs. She was going to the after-hour club, Save the Robots on Avenue B, Crow's Rest on Avenue A, where all the hookers and users were hanging out. I'll score there. Cock for money and junk for another high. Yes, we're objects, just things, don't care. Evaluation of the stimulus is evidence. A sharp increase in the rate of the nervous system, deep inside a fantasy kinescope. She knows about the fate healer's twist, the priestess of violence. Shotgun ammunition is in her pocket. She began to discuss a pseudoscience. Ashen flesh, a model sexual arousal, the disorder of a result of a drug.
Nice. Wow.
Thanks.
Well, how do you, like, when you finish writing these, and especially when you read them, does it have like an emotional effect on you?
Sometimes, none of these did.
Oh, okay.
But actually, the first time I read Flexible Demons out loud,
Okay.
I sort of got a little choked up.
Right.
That was like last year.
Okay.
So ever since that happened, I try to practice at home so I don't get like
Right.
overwhelmed when I read them.
Yeah. Because it seems
that's a tough one when that happens.
It's pretty charged material. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I always worry about that if I'm going to get
right.
choking.
So I'm going to read one of mine.
Yeah, do.
This one's called Gowanus Canal.
All right.
I sit on a ledge overlooking the old canal. My mind wanders with the movement of a garbage bag slowly drifting and disrupting the colored rainbow pattern of the thick oil coating floating on the surface of green and brown water. The clang of an old tugboat grumbling by wakes me from my momentary slumber, and the screeching laughter of a flock of seagulls flying overhead, transversing across a marbled gray, blue and white sky, punctuates the mid-afternoon scene on the Gowanus. I ponder what once must have been a thriving body of water and was left to decay, with each piece of refuse dumped by an uncaring populace and greedy industrialists who couldn't care about those behind them. As the sun ducks behind the tall development that towers over the waterway, I can't help but think of what could have been. And I listen to the noise of gravel being dumped into a bed of a large truck with sirens blasting the soundtrack to an ever-changing Brooklyn. Shiny new money Brooklyn, sometimes dissonant with the gritty old funky Brooklyn, a Brooklyn that is my home.
That was great.
Thanks. Yeah, it's
changing Brooklyn. Yeah, like I was saying, Brooklyn's expensive now.
It really is, and they build these fancy condo developments on the Gowanus.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. Yeah,
I remember the Gowanus when I got a bike stolen there once when I was like a little kid.
Right.
I shouldn't have been there with my friends riding a bike, and these kids came over and they took our bikes.
Yeah. Of course, I didn't include that in here. The joke was always all the dead bodies in the Gowanus.
Oh yeah, right. I remember the propellers they used to have in there, right?
Right.
They weren't working, and then like I think maybe 20 years ago they started turning them on.
Right.
So supposedly the water's clearer now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't go bathing.
Well,
in it.
it's a what do they call it? I mean, they're trying to clean it up.
Yeah, they've been trying for a long time.
I forgot the name of its special name for the type of cleanup they're doing, but
yeah.
They're hoping it'll be the Venice of Brooklyn, but I don't know.
I think you might have.
They got a long way to
go. There, yeah,
yeah.
Well, I mean, you see, Williamsburg, they have all those huge buildings there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hotels.
Well, there's even where I live in South Slope. It's so different.
Yeah. I lived in my first marriage. I lived in Park Slope,
right?
Prospect Park,
right.
And that was expensive then. And
yeah.
Outrageous now.
Man,
sure.
Some of those brownstones in that area.
I'm sure they're
oh my God,
insane right now.
Right. Did you know that Red Hook is actually one of the most expensive places to live now in New York City? Red Hook.
Where IKEA
I'm not kidding. Yeah.
Wow.
Because there's all
they
these.
They don't even have a subway.
I know, but apparently they have all these, like, I think it's just these really big loft spaces that are
they did.
Rich,
like Norton Records used to be over there,
right?
Because they had the big loft, so it was cheap back then.
Norton Records, that was a great label.
Yeah, I like them.
They
That's
put
a
some great
shame, though.
stuff
I
out.
mean, the Red Hook's an expensive place.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, times have changed,
Yeah.
right, as we said.
What's the cheap places left in New York?
So you have any closing thoughts?
No, thanks for inviting me.
No.
I really enjoyed it.
I didn't mention that you're on the board of the Italian American
All right,
Writers
I'm on the board of the
Association.
Italian American Writers Association.
I guess that's where I heard you read from this book.
Right.
I saw I
One of the open mic. Well,
Yeah.
you featured, didn't you?
I did feature
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You heard me at the open mic there.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's great stuff.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I liked yours a lot.
How did
too,
that come about that you wound up on the board?
I read, Three Rooms Press. They have
Yeah.
Matt Knott
Uh-huh.
books.
I mean, I've heard
They
of
have the
them. I don't know
Surrealist
them,
book
yeah.
they put out every year. I was in one of the early ones,
Okay.
and I went to the reading where you read from it. I
Right.
think that's what it was.
Okay.
One of their readings, anyway.
Right.
And I was standing there in the audience afterwards, and somebody was like bumping me.
Right.
And it was Maria
Right.
Lazella.
Uh-huh.
She's one of the Iowa people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
She kept asking, "Are you Italian? Are you Italian?"
Right.
I was like, "Yeah, why?" She said, "You want to be on the Iowa board?"
That's funny. Wow.
So actually, at Iowa, I'm in charge of the mailings, the
Let's see.
emails.
Okay.
I set up the email schedule, and
Right.
those go out there and create the list.
Well, they're taking advantage of your
Technical,
your background, right? Your computer skills.
right?
Right.
No, it's a great organization. Though.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a lot.
I love those readings. It's
They're one of the better readings in New York.
it's a
City.
really good reading. It's
Yeah.
just damn,
She gets good people there.
I get up at 4:30 Thursday and Friday.
I know, it's a
it's
shame.
so hard to go out at night.
I know. I can imagine.
Yeah. By 7 o'clock, I feel like I want to go to bed already.
Yeah, I know. 4:30. You get up at 4:30,
Yeah,
and you got to
yeah.
work, and then couple. Yeah,
Yeah.
Of course.
And you know what? Fridays is the busiest day of the week.
That
It's
really
intense.
Sucks.
It's
That
so
really
intense.
Sucks.
Yeah. So I have to have energy. I can't go there without
Most people
energy.
Friday they want to be nice and they cruise right through it.
I know. Well, I'm really doing something. Everybody else is in their 20s, and I'm 67.
Oh wow.
So it's
I'm 66.
I'm kind of the outlier. So I want to prove that I actually.
Trying to prove something.
Well, I don't want them to say, "Oh God, we have to work with that old guy."
Yeah, the old
So-
fuck can't do shit.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I got cover for the old guy.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not that; it's the opposite.
Right.
No,
right. That's
they
good.
go, "God, you don't have to do everything." But it's a different world
Yeah, I know.
because I think work ethic has changed.
Yes, work ethic has changed. What I was going to say before, I forgot to say it though. I remember when I moved out of my house when I was like 18.
Uh-huh.
Nowadays, kids stay with their parents till they're
Yeah,
30.
I was 19. Actually, I was 19.
Yeah, they stay with their parents till they're 30, 35.
Oh God, yeah. My son's 21.
God.
I keep saying, you got to get it together. You got to get it. Come on, you got to find yourself. Hurry up.
Yeah, well, so where are you going to move? It's very expensive around here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that he's smart enough that once he finds himself, it'll be okay.
It's a common thing that's going on.
Anything you want to plug that's coming up? Just keep in mind that this won't be on, and this won't air for another week. You featuring it anywhere, or you got anything?
No, not in the moment. No,
Right.
No.
You should be featuring a lot with that. But that's a great
I
book.
am featuring at Iowa in September.
Right. Have you been reading that out? Going out and reading from the book?
Yeah, and the open mics I read.
Did you do a book release event?
No, I didn't do that. I'm thinking of doing it.
You should.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
You did all that work. You got a great book. You want
Yeah, I
people.
think I will do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, the reason I didn't send that when I was younger was because I didn't have the internet.
Right.
Now I got
That's true.
doing a book release. You actually got to do something.
Yeah. Well, it's just fun, and you can have people read from it or whatever.
Yeah, I think I'll do
something.
that.
Yeah,
I will.
Well,
I'll
I
have to look
encourage you
around
to
for a
do it
place.
because it's great and needs to be out there.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to play the theme song. This is my musical partner, Fredo Genziano. He puts music to my poetry, and we do shows.
I always wanted somebody like that.
Yeah, we do. We perform together. What's funny is we were both drummers, so we never really got to work together too much.
Oh.
And then he took the guitar is his thing now, and I do the poetry, so we can work together.
Yeah. I always wanted to have somebody with bongos behind me, like
Yeah,
in the
okay.
50s.
Well, I do play bongos. Maybe
we could do
should
some
come up.
sometime,
Yeah. Anyway, Peter, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
having
Peter
me. I
Marra.
really enjoyed it.
Please check out his book, A Dirty Diary of Ordinary Days. Go look for it online. Get your copy and all the other great titles that he's got in his arsenal. So thanks for being a great guest. You've been listening to Storytelling on Orchard Street. I'm your host, Pete Salamita. Thank you for tuning in to us, and I hope you enjoyed our program.